They're the ones playing politics, not us. They're lying to you. They're playing political games. With regard to whether the furloughed civilian employees of the federal government will receive back pay, it is true that in previous shutdowns, many or most of them have been paid for the time that they were furloughed. But there is new legal analysis. I don't know the details. I just saw a headline this morning. I'm not read in on it, and I haven't spoken to the White House about it. But there are some legal analysts who are saying that that may not be appropriate or necessary in terms of the law requiring that back pay be provided. So I'm sure that'll be there will be a lot of discussion about that. But there are legal analysts who think that that is not something that government should do. That, if that is true, that should turn up the urgency and the necessity of the Democrats doing the right thing here.
There are few words to describe just how depraved you have to be as a person, let alone one of the most powerful politicians in the country, to even consider not paying furloughed government employees the back pay their labor has generated. Thankfully, voters and Democrat officials are seeing through the BS he's peddling.
I have two medically fragile children. I have a husband who actively serves this country. He suffers from PTSD from his 2 tours in Afghanistan. If we see a lapse in pay come the 15th, my children do not get to get the medication that's needed for them to live their life, because we live paycheck to paycheck.
Just for some additional context to this Republican voters' complaint about back pay for service members, here are Johnson's own words about the topic.
That's my position. I think they should be. They should not be subjected to harm and financial dire straits because Chuck Schumer wants to play political games. With regard to paying the troops, I want everybody to listen to me very carefully. Hakeem Jeffries and the House Democrats, as Leader Scalise said so well, are clamoring to get back here and have another vote because some of them want to get on record and say they're for paying the troops. We already had that vote. It's called the CR.
And as a Republican, I'm very disappointed in my party, and I'm very disappointed in you because you do have the power to call the House back. You did that, or you refused to do that just for a show. I am begging you to pass this legislation. My kids could die. We don't have the credit because of the medical bills that I have to pay regularly. You could stop this, and you could be the one that could say military's getting paid. And I think that it is awful, and the audacity of someone who makes 6 figures a year to do this to military families is insane.
I am so proud of that woman who called out Mike Johnson for the man he is, right? A despicable one, somebody that has no dignity, somebody that has a very, how do I put it, flawed moral compass, if you will. This is what we should be doing, right? Calling out our political leaders and holding them accountable, shaming them for the actions that are going to hurt so many Americans. And it's really frustrating that they don't care about serving the American people and working in the best interest. They care about serving themselves and the people, right, who fund their campaigns, right, who fund their operations, so on and so forth. But I like it when you have people who make these leaders uncomfortable. And you could see it in Mike Johnson's face there. We can't take Johnson or any Republican seriously when it comes to healthcare and taking care of veterans because they're a part of the party that is actively advocating to gut these programs. And while the Democrats, they deserve a lot of flack, right, and criticism for how they've handled things and initiatives that they haven't done, right, in response to Republicans and the Trump regime, they were the ones actually seeking to fund vital healthcare programs.
So you think we do that everybody back to regular session? Republican swore the person in?
No, the exception is there were 2 Floridians who were elected in a special election. This happened a couple months back. They were here on a day, they had their families here, they had a scheduled day for the oath of office, and the House was called out of session that day. They had all their family and friends here. So we went ahead and went through the process in a pro forma. Let me finish. Wait, let me answer the question if you're going to ask it. And so that was the exception we did because the family was here. Ms. Grijalva, Rep-elect Grijalva, has not yet had a scheduled date because she was elected after the House was out of session. So I am anxious to administer the oath to her as soon as you guys vote to open the government.
You don't want to be on the Epstein discharge. How much?
It's totally absurd. You guys are experts at red herrings and distraction.
Moving along.
No, not. It has nothing to do with Epstein.
This is an excuse so she doesn't sign on to that.
This is absurd.
This is the longest time the House.
Do you want me to answer the question? If you ask the question, let me answer.
Actually answer the question. This
Okay.
entirely has to do with the
Okay,
Epstein
you
votes.
see, this is a publicity stunt. I'm not blocking her, I just
This
told
is the
you.
longest time that House Resolution has been out of session. That's not in a regular August session. This is the longest time it's taken for someone to be sworn in, and it all happens to coincide with the fact that she's going to be the deciding vote on the discharge petition.
I know why you're upset. I know why you're upset.
Mike,
You
I
get a lot
gotta-
of heat because the government is closed down and you guys
Well, we're
made the
not.
decision.
Actually, no, actually.
You wait,
Mike,
you
I
made it
gotta-
5
Mike,
times.
I-
Get everybody
Get your
back here and get
people
to regular
in and
session.
stop covering up for the pedophiles.
That's ridiculous.
Nobody's covering up for pedophiles.
ridiculous.
So
You
knock
know,
it the hell off.
she knows, you
You're
know that she
absolutely
is the,
absurd.
you know
Okay,
she is
I'm
the
going to get
vote.
back to work. These gentlemen had a publicity stunt here. You see the issue. They need to go and vote to reopen the government.
Get your
Plain and
people back.
simple.
They're becoming experts at distraction and red herrings. This has absolutely nothing to do about Epstein. This is a scheduling matter. As soon as the Democrats vote to reopen the government, we will get back to the regular order and session of Congress, and that'll be, I'm sure, among our first orders of business is to administer the oath to the newly elected representative. This is just a matter of the schedule.
There have been Republicans sworn in during pro forma sessions, so why should it be different for a Democrat?
A great question. There was a unique exception made when the 2 Florida representatives were sworn in earlier this year after winning a special election. And the only reason we did that is because it was previously noticed for that date, and they flew all their families and friends in for the ceremony. So because they were here and the session got canceled, we just went ahead and did it because their families were here. That's the main purpose of it. But,
So if she flies in her
good thing
family,
for
would you guys do it?
Representative Grijalva, she'll get the full bells and whistles. It hasn't been
understand how this
scheduled
looks,
because
right?
we don't schedule things for pro forma. No, but they're trying to make an issue out of nothing. I've looked forward to welcoming her. She's congratulated for having won her father's seat. He served a long time. She'll have a great career.
Of course, when it comes to the Trump administration and its loyal goons in Congress, there's always a Jeffrey Epstein angle to the story. And how about this? You know the whole situation involving a newly elected Arizona Representative Adelita Grijalva? Well, she is yet to be sworn in. And Mike Johnson is doing all these theatrics to explain why it hasn't come yet, why she hasn't been sworn in. But in his remarks, right, the other day, he mentions Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Because Grijalva would be the final vote needed for a bipartisan vote to push the House to force the release of the Epstein files to the public. And we know Mike Johnson doesn't want to do that because he knows it could be lights out for him and really it could be lights out for the Trump regime if those files are released.
She has already said, Adelita Grijalva, that she will sign onto that bipartisan discharge petition that would force the House to vote on the full release of the Epstein files once the number of signatures on that petition reaches the magical number of 218. Now, listen close. Right now, that petition has 217 signatures, which includes 4 Republicans. But that number can still shrink for now. You see, according to the House rules, quote, members may add or remove their names until a petition has obtained 218 signatures. In other words, right now, because the Epstein discharge petition is just one singular signature short of the big threshold, people can take their names off it. They can change their minds. Right now, Johnson can pressure the 4 Republican signers to do just that. He has time to do it as long as he keeps Adelita Grijalva out of Congress.
It's so frustrating for us civilians to be beholden to the political whims of the ultra-rich and the country's most powerful people, both inside and outside of politics, because those individuals, for the most part, by and large, they do not care about us. They are not trying to help the average man or woman. They're not. They are serving themselves and the rich, the billionaires, okay? And a lot of times, we don't have, right, the power or the control to change it. You know, like there are different measures that you can take to put heat on these leaders and officials. But at the end of the day, what we're seeing is they just blatantly disregard rulings, right? And decisions that come down like, okay, this is what somebody said, this is what the judge said, but we're going to do it anyway. All right? Like, for LHQ, I'm Chris Williamson. We'll see you next time.